Hey, welcome to Professor Sky's Spam channel. I'm going to be talking about music, I'm going to be talking about movies, I'm going to be talking about nostalgia. So I'm very interested in nostalgia of all different eras. I'm a child of the 80s and the 90s, which means that most of today's culture is based on my nostalgia. But while I was growing up, there was a lot of nostalgia for the early 60s. Okay, so the late 50s, early 60s, I'm thinking of Happy Days, I'm thinking of American Graffiti, okay, I'm thinking of John Lennon's rock and roll, right? So there's this whole longing for the era that started in the 70s, the nostalgia started in the 70s for the era before the 60s started, before JFK was shot, before the Beatles arrived, etc. And what I'm most interested in now is talking about a song. The song is called 24,000 Baci. 24,000 Baci. It's an Italian song. Translates roughly to 24,000 kisses. And I'm going to propose that this is a secret nostalgia piece. For Americans and people from England, when we think about nostalgia for this time, we think of, Rock Around the Clock by Bill Haley, we think about Elvis, but there was a song, an Italian song, there was a huge European and worldwide smash that never had a really convincing version in English that ended up, I believe, that we can use as an absolute symbol of European nostalgia for the late 50s and early 60s. Before I get there, I want to tell you my personal story, because I have personal nostalgia around this song, okay? How do I know about the song, okay? The main way I know about this song is from this. Rocky Volcano et ses rock and rollers. My dad gave this to me. See, he went to France in 1961. And when he went there, he was a young man, 21 years old, he decided to go buy a lot of French rock and roll records, and he just bought the ones that seemed good and looked cool. Right? And I listened to all of them when I was in high school, even though I didn't know French that well. And this was the one that drew me in the most, okay? On the back, it has a description of who Rocky Volcano is. And this is very typical of this period of French music called yé-yé, in which French singers sang songs in translation. So, as we see right here, 24,000 baisers is the French version, or I should say a French version, of 24,000 kisses. It says here on the back about Rocky Volcano, 19 years old, Sicilian father, American mother, innate sense of rhythm, possesses his own band, entirely electric, 6 young people between the age of 16 and 19. His particular sign, he cannot stop from dancing when he records. So all the semiotics of youth and coolness are right here on this character, Rocky Volcano, who I'm actually going to be talking about fairly soon. I'm going to sort of go a little bit more into detail, but for now, let's just stay with the history of this record and me. So I heard this record, and the fun thing is you can see right here, my father wrote his name on it to make sure it didn't get stolen when he was back at college. We see the version there. And so I used to listen to this song quite a bit. I thought it was very cool. Even though he had others, he had better artists like Gilbert Bécaud and Jacques Brel, I was drawn to this goofy yé-yé album, and in particular 24,000 Kisses, right? So some time passes, and I actually find the song again, this time in a French movie, Le Mépris by Jean-Luc Godard, one of my favorite movies of all time. As a matter of fact, I'm going to look back here in my office, and let's see if I can find... I can. Look at this. Look at this. Le Mépris poster. I mean, it's a reproduction, obviously. Someday on this channel, I'm going to do a video about Le Mépris and its connection to the movie Casino by Martin Scorsese. It's very connected. So in Le Mépris, there's a scene in Italy. Now, a lot of Le Mépris, set in 1963, is all about sort of pan-European art movements and the relationship between Italy and France. So it made sense that this song was sung in Italian. At the time, I thought that they were doing the Italian version of the French song. I thought the French song was original. Now you think I'm done with this song, but I'm not. Many years later, I would meet my wife, the Dr. and Mrs., and she's from Serbia. Actually, more properly, she's from Yugoslavia. And she showed me perhaps the best or most successful, most artistically successful movie from former Yugoslavia by Emir Kusturica, Do You Remember Dolly Bell? And you'll never guess what is in the dead center of that movie, but a scene of someone singing 24,000 Kisses in the Italian version. So I'm making this video today because I was thinking about this song, and I realized I didn't know the origin of it. I thought it must be an American song, right? But it's not. It's an Italian song. As I said, there's no English version that is particularly well known. So the fact that I had this is of an interesting fact. See, this is an example of yay music, in which French singers would translate songs, usually from English, into French. This is before sort of globalization took over and we would just have songs in English, right? A kind of weird time. And the funny thing was, there's kind of a pecking order where different artists, depending on how successful they were, would get to record popular songs first, would get to translate popular songs first. And what I learned today during my research is that this video, this version was the second French version of the song. The first French version was done by the much more popular and much more famous to this day, Johnny Hallyday. Now this is not, my dad did not buy the Johnny Hallyday version of 24,000 Kisses. I don't know why, but he didn't. The amazing thing is, this came out on the original Italian version came out January 1st, 1961. This French version came out March 1st, 1961. This second French version came out March 21st, 1961. You know, if you ever meet a baby boomer or whatever, and they talk about how things go so fast these days and nobody really appreciates art and culture, listen, they had two different versions of the same damn song translated within a month of each other. And there was even a third one. I happened to discover this through a great website I just discovered today, secondhandsongs.com. So, obviously, this song is of this amazing importance and this amazing breadth. And I was talking about this with my wife today, and she said to me that she didn't even register. We have, in the last year, watched both the Kusturica movie and the Godard movie. And she didn't even register the song being sung in both of them. Because to her, as a European, the song is like water. You just hear it so many times. You hear the Italian version so many times. It's like Rock Around the Clock. It's like Hound Dog. It's like one of these songs which, I suppose, for many Europeans, is just a quick signifier of that time. 24,000 Kisses. There is a version in English that I found by someone named Little Tony, who has a ridiculous Italian accent, like a super strong Italian accent, and it's a very interesting and charming song. What I'd like to do now, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to show you the two movies that feature this song. I think it's interesting, I think it's important, because we can put this song in this context of how do we sort of mediate this time in world history, in pop culture history, the pre-Beatles, pre-JFK assassination, pre-60s, 60s. I think with the contemporary view of Godard, and then the nostalgic retroactive view of Kusturica, we have this sense of a particularly European moment in time. So let's start off with the Godard version here. This is where the lead characters, including Brigitte Bardot in a wig, walk up to a cinema, and before the cinema, we have this kind of bizarre karaoke version here. It's a very typical kind of Godardian, bizarre, what's actually happening scene. And I think within the context of the movie, this is an important moment. The entire movie is about the creation of a version of the story of the Odyssey. It's got an American producer, a German director, Fritz Lang, a French screenwriter. So much of it is about this high culture and history of long culture. And then right in the middle of it is this throwaway rock song. This rock song which everybody watching knew, which is the sort of symbol of the new modern youth culture, right? This is the new wave. Right? As we're talking about French New Wave cinema, and the music that was being played at the time was this New Wave yay yay music. Now what makes this song so special, I think, is that it doesn't originate in America. So when they're saying yay yay here, anyways, at some point when they sing it there, it has that, it has a specificness to it not being transatlantic, to just being on the other side, although obviously bearing the influence of America. So I think when Kusturica was putting together Do You Remember Dolly Bell, which is a very charming story about a young man who's growing up in this time period in Yugoslavia, when things were much better in Yugoslavia than they were when the film was made in 1981, right around the time of Tito's death, right before the dissolution of the state, we have this amazing scene. Now what I love here is that in the Italian version, there is something particularly European about it, which is that it's in a sort of European film hall, probably a film hall that is subsidized by the state. And in the Kusturica version, we actually have something, and my wife was explaining to me the way things were done in a lot of socialist, communist countries, you know, a lot of countries that support arts in a much more direct way, they would have cultural centers. So a lot of the movie takes place in these cultural centers. As another example, French hip-hop, you know, the second greatest nation for creating hip-hop in the world, a lot of that was thanks to cultural centers, this kind of socialist concept of, well, let's give young people a place to make art, and then maybe, just throwing ideas out here, maybe if we give young people a place to make great art, they will make great art. I know, it's ridiculous, and a totally fantastical idea that has no bearing in reality. So if we look at this version, we have this, I mean, Kusturica, I think this is in dialogue with Godard. I think it is. Because Godard was able to, in real time, show the importance of the song. And here Kusturica shows the importance of it as a symbol of nostalgia, as a symbol of what the early 60s was like in Europe. Here's a Yugoslavian kid singing in Italian.
24.000 baci, oggi saprai perché l'amore, vorrei un istante 1000 baci, 1000 carezze vuoi allora, con 24.000 baci, felici come l'ore ore, un giorno sai mi do perché, ogni secondo bacio te, non te bugie meraviglie.
A lot of things to love about this scene, right? First of all, just the straight head-on shot, just the no cut, just like the face of the guy reading the lyrics and trying to figure it out. And then it goes back and you see the leader of the cultural center there kind of knocking along, and someone with an accordion apparently there as well, right? I mean, do you feel it? Do you feel how authentically he is capturing this moment? I mean, this is 16 years, you know, this movie was made 4 years after I was born. It's supposed to depict the time 15 years before I was born, but I feel as though I'm in this cultural center in a world where I've never been. And this little detail of this sad, homely bass player as he's wanting to be the lead singer as well, mouthing his along with the words, right? And that's, I think, part of it, right? Just it's such an influential and important song that even in Yugoslavia, people are going along with the words. So there you go. It's 2021. I'm talking about a movie from 40 years ago. And the movie from 40 years ago is talking about a song from 60 years ago, right? It all comes together, and I think gives us a clear vision of this song, of this moment in time that's represented by that great song. with the yay, yay, yays in the middle that's American, and it's Italian, and it's French, and it's Yugoslavian, and it's all different languages. And it's a little bit hidden from us Americans with our cultural dominance that we didn't get to hear this great song. Okay, so there's a more of a video essay. I don't know what my spam channel is going to be. So you tell me, is this the kind of thing that you like movies, and music, and all this all together? Okay, I'm hungry. I'm gonna go home.